Welcome to DIY with Nadia, my sweet friends. Today I'm going to show you how to make my top 20 bows for wreaths and DIYs. To make it easier for you, they're going to be in the order of easiest to the more complicated. And if you want to see any of the DIYs of wreaths in this video, I will link the videos in the description box so you can check them out. Now, let's get started. We're going to make a very simple bow. I'm grabbing some burlap ribbon that has lace on it from the Dollar Tree, kind of eyeing how big I want the bow to be, and of course cutting off a bit more so I can overlap my bow by about an inch. Next, I'm finding the center of the bow, bringing it together, and just giving it a few tiny drops of hot glue in between the layers. And the way I make my bow is I fold it in half towards the center or the front, and then fold it back towards the back of the bow. And then in the back, I'm going to give a dollop of some hot glue, and then using the grosgrain ribbon, I'm going to go around the center of the bow a few times and hot glue it in place in the back. All that's left is to hot glue the beautiful bow right in the center between the mums and the greenery. Okay guys, so right now we are going to do a really fun bow and probably not one you saw before. Let's do 6 inches. We can always cut off extra if we want, which I think this is too long. We are going to cut it off, but I always like to go longer and then cut down, and we're going to keep this at the same length. So what you're going to do with this, because this is kind of thick, we are going to make a fun little bow. So here's what we're doing. We're laying this little one on top of the thick one, on top of the burlap. We're going to find our middle first. So find your middle, know where your middle is. And I'm going to actually move this because I want this little flap to be in the middle, because that is where our little pearl is gonna go. Okay, so here's what we're doing. I'm making a little burrito. From this side, I'm going in. From this side, I'm going in. So I'm going to first dab some hot glue, and get your fingers out so you don't burn yourself. And then we'll dab some hot glue, and you're basically folding everything in. And you're like, Nadia, that's not a bow. I promise you guys, it's gonna be a pretty bow. Then we are going to unfold. So we're going to unfold and unfold. There you go. And don't forget, this has wire in it. And then I'm going to hold it in that same middle place and unfold and unfold. And now your bow will kind of stand back. It will open up. So just keep on working with it until it's how you want it. Do you see? And then in the middle of this groove, that's where our pearl is gonna go. Our gorgeous 14mm pearl from the Dollar Tree. And then we're just going to even out the ends. And when you put it on top of the ornament, it's just going to fit really beautifully. A few of you wanted me to show you how to do a mini little bow freehand without using anything, and this is how I do it. Here I'm making my first loop, just one over the other. Then I'm taking some more twine and looping it over the first loop and just pulling it. Now I'm just adjusting both sides, and just you can make it as small or as big as you want. And I'm just making it tight at the point where I feel like the bow is at the size that I need it to be. Let's try this again. I'm making my first loop, then with more twine, I'm looping it around my first loop and just pulling it through while always holding the beginning of the twine. That way I have control of it, and as I said, we can make this as small or as big as you want. And there you go. You have a perfect little bow, so simple to make, and I just did it with my hands. I didn't use anything. It was simple and sweet, and I'll end up cutting that tail a little shorter, but yeah, that's it. I hope this helped you guys. Now I'm grabbing some of this Just Maker's twine, and I think this is a phenomenal deal at the Dollar Tree. And I'm just grabbing some, making sure I have a tail, then wrapping it around my fingers about 5 times. Then once again, making sure there is a tail. The next piece I cut off was about 5 inches long, and I'm just going to wrap it around the center of my bow. When I made sure my bow was nice and secured, I'm grabbing those same tails and I'm going to wrap them around the top of the wreath and just tie it in the back. I didn't even use any hot glue to attach this twine ribbon to the wreath. Now I'm taking some of this leftover twine and I'm going to go around my fingers 5 times. Find that center. And I'm just using a leftover piece of jute cord here. Okay, next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take these little ends and I'm going to tie them, leaving about 1/2 inch. Just going to take tweezers and just kind of Now I'm going to get my grosgrain ribbon and I'm going to make a little bow. And for those who watch my channel, you know I love using needle and thread to make a sweet little bow. So I'm just going to put needle and thread straight in the middle of my simple bow, wrap the thread around once or twice, and then tighten it up. I'm going to wrap it a few more times, and then in the back I'm going to give it a few knots so it's nice and secure. Next, I'm going to cut the tails off on a slant, and grabbing my lighter, I'm going to singe the edges really quickly so the tails are sealed and they will not fray. Going to make a fake needle. I just grab a piece of floral wire, fold it in half, and kind of use it as a needle to thread my jute cord onto my lace ribbon. And I'm going in and out kind of like a continuous stitch until I'm all done. For my bow, I'm grabbing about a 12-inch piece of lace, and then I'm going to thread my brown jute cord. Now I'm just making a simple bow, hot gluing it together, and then hot gluing it to the jar. For the centerpiece of my bow, I'm just grabbing a wooden button and hot gluing it to the center. Grabbing some of this beautiful burlap, and I got a big piece of burlap first, and then I got these skinny little ribbons, and I got the buffalo check, then the grosgrain ribbon, and then this beautiful farmhouse print. The most important thing of making a shabby bow is to make sure that you don't make it too long. If you make it too wide, the bow is going to flop. So I recommend anywhere from 4 to 6 inches depending on the type of ribbon you're using. This particular bow that I'm making is 5 inches long. For this shabby bow right here, I cut all my ribbon into 5-inch strips. My burlap piece is 4.5 inches long and it's my base. As you can see, all my other ribbon, I just crisscrossed, layering them one on top of the other, right on top of that. And then I'm just grabbing some jute cord and bringing the bow together. After my bow is nice and tied, I'm going to flip it over and make sure that all my ribbon pieces are the way that I want them, and then I'm attaching the bow to the top of the cutting board. Next, I'm grabbing a pack of the cotton pods, and they come in a set of 4, and I'm just going to grab one. They do have wiring in the back, which is kind of nice because that's exactly how I'm going to attach it to this project. I'm just going to grab a little piece of floral wire, get a tail about 4 inches long, make a simple bow. I'm going to bring it together. I'm just twisting it in the back. I am going to do little ducktails. Put a little bow in the front. So to tone it down, I am going to use burlap. And then I decided, because there's a little hints of white here and there, this is not pure white, this is a little bit on the ivory side. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this, and let's see here, I already tried this to make sure that I have the burlap where I wanted. So this is what the little bow is gonna look like, and as I said, I'm making a simple bow. I'm going to lay this one on top, and just at the point where it's going to be, because I don't want to have too many hot glue marks. So if we do this, then our next one is going to be right there. And then once I actually have the bow made, I will fold it over and give it a little dot of hot glue and then cut the excess off. And then here, let's just measure where we want it, right there. So the little dot goes right here. And I don't use the bow Deborah. I would eventually probably will get one, but right now I'm okay. So I just made a simple bow, as you see, and I'm going to bring it together. I just have a little wire, whatever you have on hand. I always say, whatever's the hottest near you, take it. Sometimes I use wire, sometimes I use, you know, needle and thread, whatever. You just need to bring that bow together. We are crafters. This should be fun. And I'm just going to cut the excess off, nice and smooth it out, fold it over, and just a little dab of hot glue, fold it over. Loosely, it doesn't need to be tight. I do want to cover this part, so I'm just going to grab another piece. I'm going to make a 4-loop bow. I don't want my tail to be too long, but here we go. And I'm making about 3-inch loops. I'm just eyeing this. I'm not going to make it difficult for myself. There you go. I'm going to go in and out. Cutting my tails right here. And because I do want this to last for a while, I am going to singe it. Please use caution when doing this. And I always say, don't put it over the flame. Put it like right... Do you see that I'm not even touching my ribbon? The flame has heat all around it. So you don't even need to touch it, because when the flame touches the ribbon, that's when it's going to turn black. And you don't want that. So when you're doing this, there you go. Just right next to it. And this method, I'm telling you, I absolutely love singes ribbon, just because I know at the end of the day, if this wreath goes to somebody, I know that bow is not going to go anywhere. And I absolutely love it. Going to decorate the area in the middle with a bow, and I wanted to keep this farmhouse, so I am going to use a burlap bow, and this is from the Dollar Tree. I pre-measured it, and I'm going to use 2 pieces, and I call this type of bow a Christmas bow, and I'll tell you why. It's because the way I put it together. Now I did want to shabby this up a little bit, so I'm going to take about 2 strands from the edges. I have another piece for the tail. And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take all of these 3 pieces, and I'm going to grab my favorite, my current favorite ribbon from the Dollar Tree. And if you've seen my bows, you know I absolutely love doing this. And I'm going to overlap the ribbon here a little bit. And what you want is about 1/2 inch on the edge, so you can put it over and hot glue it in the back. I'm just going to put it over and just hold it there. This is going to get hidden anyway, so this is really not a big deal. All right, I'm going to do this to all 3 of the pieces. Aren't these just the prettiest little ribbons? All right, now time to put it together. This is where you decide how big you want the bow to be. Okay, I think I like that. All right, now that I've decided, look how much, ooh, I wasted so much. Going to bring it together. You want the 2 big ones to be the same size. Now here's how we're gonna bring it together. This is how a Christmas bow is pretty much made. So I'm going to fold this in half to the front and fold the sides back. Just like that. All right, since I don't have 10 hands, I'm just going to tie this with a wire real quick. Now we're going to do the same thing here. Fold it in half, and then to the side, and to the side. And then I'm going to bring it together right here. Going to grab another piece of wire and bring these 2 together. So Christmas bow is where you take a loop, and then another piece for the tail. I'm going to find my center, bring it together, and then to the sides. And in case you're wrong, just check with yourself right there. And then we're going to attach this to the bottom. Now I left my tail of the wire longer when I was putting these 2 loops together so that I could bring it over. Now I'm just going to tighten it in the back. All right, now that I feel that it's nice and secure, I'm going to grab another piece of this ribbon and bring it together. And all of a sudden you have a very pretty little bow. I'm starting with this black grosgrain from the Dollar Tree. First measuring out a tail, and I'm going kind of longer on it. You can always make it shorter, right? Can't make it longer, but you can always make it shorter. And I'm just going to hot glue it in place. Dab of hot glue. Okay, because the tails are a little bit sideways, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick it up right here, and this is a little trick whenever you're working with grosgrain, and then just pull it in to where you want it. Don't worry about that fold. We're going to have other ribbon on it. And if, let's see here. I just want to pull this one back a little bit, just the same. While it's still hot, I'm going to pull it back on here. There you go. Because the other ribbon I will be using will have more of a flow. Okay. Let's put this aside. Here's our black one. Now I'm bringing in this one, and this is just a Farmhouse ribbon. All right. From here, I'm making my loops. Make them a tiny bit, like tiny bit smaller than the other one. See how this one's going to fall regardless, but the one that's grosgrain, we kind of had to put it in place because it's more of a sturdier ribbon, but it's still my favorite. I absolutely love it. Okay, for a third ribbon, I do want to use this lace from the Dollar Tree, and this is the ivory one. And we're gonna make this one smallest, especially that it is it's going to be flimsy, so that's why we want to make it small. If you make this too big, it's not going to be pretty. Now careful hot gluing this because it is porous. Just going to put it right on top and then press and hold. A little hot glue right there. And we have a little 3-fold bow. And then we're going to put one more right there in the middle of the bow. I'm going to be using this beautiful egg one from the Dollar Tree, and doesn't it match perfect with the whole theme? Now for the ribbon. I want the ribbon tail to actually hang. So for my ribbon, I'm going to make sure that I have enough tail for it to hang right there. And there's my starting point. And I'm going to eye the loops, so just to let you know how long my loops are going to be, it looks like about 4.5 inches. So 4.5 to 5, and I'm just going to do a 6-loop bow. And I'm going to fold it in half and towards the middle. There you go. So in half, and then what I'm going to do is half of this, I'm going to fold back. And I'm going to fold back, okay? Now we're just going to grab some floral wire. Now I'm just pulling it up right there. Going to just pull it up so I can twist the floral wire. And then I'm going to put it straight onto my wreath right here. Now let's make dovetails. I like using this Dollar Tree lighter. It has like a short little tip, and it works when I try to singe the edges. And I'm not even touching. I'm not touching. It's not supposed to really burn it. I'm just kind of putting it by the flame. The heat of the flame will do its work. Nice and secure, and it's not gonna go anywhere. I can have this hanging for years and it's not gonna fray. I feel like the tails are really, really flat. So I'm going to go ahead and do my ribbon technique. We're going to fold, pinch, and fold back, and then just kind of push this part back. And there's my ribbon. And I'm going to go halfway down, fold, pinch right here, and then just push it down, and then you will see the ribbon right there. Next, we're going to make a bow, and I will be using these 2 ribbons from the Dollar Tree. I'm going to start with the blue, and the first I'm going to do is I'm going to measure 14 inches for the blue ribbon. Here we go, at 14 inches, and that is going to be my starting point. Now, before I start making the tails, I am going to grab a chenille wire and just put it at the bottom. I ran out of the white, so I'm just using a silver. And so this does have a top side and a bottom side. So I'm going to be just turning over because I want my tail to be right side up. So I'm going to be turning it over. And I'm going to be making 12-inch loops, which means I'm just going to measure to my 6-inch line right here. There you go. And I'm going to just twist right here in the middle. Here we go. And we're going to do 3 loops on each side, which will make this a 6-loop bow. And twist again. This is the 3rd loop right here. And now we're making the 3rd loop for this side. Here we go. And then we have our tail, and our tail measures at 17 inches, which is fine. One is longer than the other. Absolutely fine. I'm going to leave it right here. If you don't feel comfortable and want to tie this back, you can definitely do that. But before I tie in the back, I'm going to grab another chenille wire, and this one is going to go right on the wreath, and I'm going to put it crisscross like this. And then I'm going to make my good twist right here. Okay, and bring it to the front. All right, we're going to let that go. Just flatten it out as much as I can. Next, we're bringing in our Easter one. How beautiful is this? Once again, I'm going to measure it at 14 inches. And this time, I'm going to actually make it a little smaller. So I'm actually, instead of 6 inches, this way I'm going to go at 5. And so we're going to twist. There we go, find my center. 5 inches. Because you want this one to be smaller. Even though I have 3 loops on each side, I still have room to make 1 more loop right here. Let me see how I want to do this. So I'm going to actually make a 7th loop. I'm going to twist this, and then I'm going to make a little loop right here. That'll be my center loop. So I'm going to bring it in, and I'm going to twist it in my hands right there. And then just kind of pull it down. So twist, and I'm just hiding the twist right inside. So I have this sweet little loop, and what I'm going to do with this one is I'm going to bring it through. And this is where I make sure that it's nice and tight. And bring this one this way. And you can make this one as big or as small as you want. I decided to make it just a little bit smaller right there. Okay. And this is why when I did this one, I just put it to the side because you don't know which one, you know, to grab. But this way, I know this one's on the side and it was easy to grab the one I wanted. Make it nice and tight, twist, and I'm going to bring it in again and just kind of do this right here, and then I'm going to twist. Okay, now that our bow is made, I'm going to pull my tails down, and now I'm going to just start making the poofs and just bring them around. Now these gorgeous beauties right here, open them up. And what I do with these ones, because the tails are all right here, I'm going to push my 6 blue ones up a little bit. You're just making dovetails on all my ribbon tails. I'm going to show you a technique that I absolutely love. So what I do is I make a little ribbon. Here's my side view. I bring it up and I pinch on the inside, and then the loop goes on top. I pinch, you could actually pinch it right here and then just bring it back. All right, one more thing I want to show you on the bow. When I have a white ribbon that I'm working with, this little inside one just kind of looks out of place because it's wide, and you want it to look kind of like a little poof. So what I do is I take the little edges and I fold them inside, just like this, like maybe like a ½ inch, ¼ inch, depending on, you know, how wide the ribbon is. And you just kind of do this, and then guess what? You have a sweet little poof right here, and it works really nice. And now it looks like a flower, doesn't it? Today we're going to be making a loop bow. This bow is amazing if you have ribbon that's left over, like I have this Easter one. Then I have this one left over. This, I have a lot of this, so I'm not, that's not a leftover. I just wanted a little bit of like a rustic feel to it. But really it's going to be an elegant wreath because look at these together. It's going to be lovely. So basically the basic one, or the most important one, is this one. It is a wired ribbon that I got at Joann Fabrics a very long time ago. And the first thing you want to do is you want to measure how much you want your loop to be. I usually eye it and I said, this looks good. Then that is my length. I measure my length, and let me see here. It's gonna be 20 inches. Which is fine. So I'm going to get at least 3 for now, and then see if I want to do any more. And so that means I want 20 inches of the other one, and I'm also going to make 3 of these. And this is just one of the simplest bows you can make. If you have a hard time making bows, this is the bow for you, I promise. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make ducktails everywhere. And I just fold it in half and do this. I'm going to go to the other side. And I'm going to do this to all the ribbon. So starting with my thickest ribbon, I'm going to fold it in half first. But don't pinch it right here because this is your loop. Here, this is where you decide how big you want it, and then measure how big your loop is going to be. Let's make it, let's make it 5. So 5, that means I have a 10-inch loop, 5 on each side. Make sure this is nice and fluffy, and then I put it in between my fingers at the point where I'm going to bring it all together. Next, I'm going to fold this in half just to make sure I have my middle. So start with the tails, and then go about midway up. Now I'm just measuring, I have my 5 inches, There you go. And bring it together. I do this usually by eye, but if you want to measure, that's fine too. Bring it together, measure your approximate 5 inches, and then keep on layering it until you're all done. So this is what it looks like when it's all together. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of zigzag it together. And this is where you want to bring your muscles. You want to make sure you get it nice and tight. If you want to use a zip tie for this, I highly recommend it. Now I'm going to start fanning this out and just start opening up the bow. And some of them try to twist them so they're facing forward. Is it starting to look like a bow yet, you guys? These tails are going to be so pretty. And this is what's going to kind of fill the bow in. I am going to throw some tails up, but before we get too far, let's grab a chenille wire and we're just going to do one twist so we have something to attach to our wreath. But let's just have fun here. Okay, now that my bow is fluffed up more or less, I'm going to attach it to the wreath, and I want my tails, or the majority of the tails, to be kind of facing down. And I'm going to attach it between the second and third row. And it's going to fill in that space we kind of didn't have enough of our deco mesh in. And now I'm just going to straighten it out as much as I can. The next thing I'm going to do is I have these little glitter berries from Easter. And I wanted to incorporate them in between the bow. And the reason I'm keeping them kind of long is because I'm going to put them through the bow, but then I need to twist them around the wreath. Just starting here and there. Just going to poke through. Right there. And so in the back, I'm just going to twist around my wreath form, and make sure that as you're twisting, the side that's sharp is going inside the wreath. And now let's just play around. Make sure you have the loops the way you want them. Make sure the berries are in the right place that you want them to be. And that's it. And we are going to do a version of my half loop bow, but this time what I'm going to do is I'm going to make it a little bit different. For my ribbon, these are the ones I'm going to use. I'm going to use this orange, then these leaves, and the green. And as you can see, they are going to make a beautiful combo, and we're going to attach it to the top. My half loop bows, I usually do 28 inches in length. So because this is not long enough of a space, what I do is I do 14 inches. Let me kind of move it. 14-inch loops. Measure out my 14 inches. There's my 14-inch loop. And then there you go. There's my measurement of the 28 inches. For each of the ribbon that I'm going to be using, I'm going to be doing only 2 of these 28-inch loops. Next, I'm going to make dovetails. So what I do is just I fold my really long ribbon together and then together again and cut from inside going out. And now to get started on my bow, I'm starting with the green one, and of course I'm facing the outside, which is the prettier side, towards the outside. And as you can see here, the edge kind of folds in on this side. So this is the inside piece. And I'm starting at my mark right here, going to 15 inches. And here I have my 6 inches. So I'm going to 15 inches and folding it back where I have my 6 inches right here. This is where I'm actually going to make this bow. So we're going to have a bow, and one tail is going to be longer and the other one is shorter. Next, I'm going to grab the next green one, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to go to 15, fold it in half, and now I'm just laying them down. I'm going to do the same thing with all of my ribbons. All right, now that all my ribbon is folded the way I need them to, I'm going to grab a chenille wire. You can also use floral wire, whatever you want to use to put this bow together. I'm going to start by using the color that I want in the back, which is this green one. Then we're going to go to the fall leaves and then this kind of rustic orange. It's such a beautiful color. And by the way, yes, all the ribbon is from the Dollar Tree. So we're starting off by measuring 6 inches. As soon as I get my 6 inches, I'm going to bring it and put it between my thumbs. Then the next one, also 6 inches, I'm going to face it the opposite way. Next, 6 inches, the opposite way of that one. And then so on and so forth until you're all done. Quite easy, right? I'm going to fold it so I know where my place is. But as you can see, each side I have a loop, a longer and a shorter tail, a loop, shorter, longer, loop, shorter, longer, and obviously this side is the exact opposite. Because this is so thick and we want this bow to pop, we are going to cut on the edges right here and just a little bit. We are not making any serious cuts right here. Literally a 1/4 of an inch to 1/2 an inch, depending on how big your bow is. But just like that, not too much, because you want this bow to stay together. I have my chenille wire right here. Make sure it's in half. And I'm going to bring my bow together and just tighten it up in the back. I didn't do anything special, just put the chenille wire around it and tied it in the back. That's all I did. Next, I'm bringing my pumpkin back up, and now I'm going to attach the bow to the 2 middle rings right here. Just give it a few twists. Then I'm going to put my wire through the stump right here, just to kind of secure it in place. Okay, now I'm just putting my wreath on something, propping up on something, so I can actually see how this is going to turn out. And basically, I want one of my ribbons to go down, and the other one can face up. So the longer one's going to go down, the shorter one is going to go up. I know this kind of does look a little bit chaotic, but trust me, it'll be okay. Alright, you guys, I fluffed my bow out just a little bit. Next, I grabbed these picks. These are both, as you can see, this is Crafter Square. This is Floral Garden, which is from the Dollar Tree. Both of them are from the Dollar Tree. And I just could not make up my mind which one I wanted to go with. But I really like the mums in this one, and then this orange pumpkin, and then I like the fact that this one has just a little bit like of twigs, and it does have some of these leaves that are going to match our ribbon, so I decided to use this also, and it has a cute little pumpkin on here. And then after I secure it, I'm going to make sure that it's fluffed out the way I want it. And now this is where I'm going to finish up. And especially the small little tails are really going to come up and things are going to get poofed out. Oh, this is going to be so super adorable. Bow, I'm going to be using this beautiful ribbon from Crafter Square, and this is the green one, and it's such a beautiful green. And this one is 3.5 inches. And yeah, I know, I'm very excited about that, but comparing to the 2 inches that we get our other ribbon, this is really nice. And then because this is kind of dark and so is this, I am going to bring the gold in because it really doesn't matter. We have gold here, so it's going to work well all together. And then we have the yellow here, which is going to go nice with the leaves. So this whole thing is going to be beautiful. The bow I'm going to be making, I personally call it half loop bow. If you know what it's called, let me know. But I'm doing my own measurements and I'm doing my own thing. So here we go. I'm going to make loops that are 14 inches. Here is my 12-inch mark and here is my 14-inch mark. I'm going to loop it over right there. And we're going to, there you go, at 14. Now I'm just going to see how much of these 14 inches I have left. All my ribbon is from last year because my Dollar Tree has not gotten the fall stuff in. But you know what? I think 3 is going to be more than enough. I'm going to do the same thing with this one. And I'm just going to measure it off the other one. So with this one, I was only able to do 2, which is fine because it's so thick and big. It'll be fine. And now with the gold. All right, so since our loops are 14 inches, our strips or ribbon pieces are actually 28 inches in length. I just won't make it on the screen. So it was easier to show you 14 in the loops. So now I'm going to go around and make dovetails to all the ribbon endings. Okay, I'm going to start with the thickest one, and all I'm going to do is measure off a 6-inch bow and put it between my fingers. Next, I'm going for the green, fold that in half, measure out my 6 inches and put it the opposite way. I'm going to grab my gold one, measure it out, put it the opposite way, but we're still pinching at the 6-inch mark with the loops. I'm going to go back to this one, trying to get a hold of this one. 6 inches. Now it's going this way. Make sure that the big ones, especially if you have one of each, there's one on each side. Now the green one, this way. And that's why I call this the half bow, because everything's in half. You're kind of halving it on both sides. Okay, measuring off my 6 inches. This one's going this way. I'm going to turn it around and I'll continue on this side. Now the green one, opposite, and the gold one. Now I'm grabbing my wire, nice long piece of a wire, and now I'm just going to start twisting it around. Just kind of keeping it tight. This is going to be a big and a beautiful bow. And wire it in place. Now that my bow is on, it's time to open it up. How fun. Here I decided to do some extra reinforcement with some wire. Before I continue puffing everything out, I'm going to bring in this ivory little pumpkin. And I don't want it to be flat and I don't want it to be sideways. I kind of want it to be like a little bit tilted forward. So what I'm going to do is I'm grabbing a 14 gauge wire. This is a thick wire and I'm going to go like a 40, not a 45 degree angle, like on an angle, like right there. Do you see? I didn't go down, I went from the side. And a 14 gauge wire will go through this because this is basically styrofoam. This is very strong wire. And I'm going to fold it down just like this. And I'm going to go around my bow and attach it in the back. Now that our pumpkin is in, I'm going to go ahead, puff everything out, and we are going to be done with this wreath. Now for the bow, I decided to do something different. I'm grabbing some light green Deco mesh and I'm measuring out 30 inches. To make the bow, I'm gathering both endings of the Deco mesh, overlapping it, and making a bow in the middle. I'm going to bring the bow together with a chenille wire, but I'm going to twist it on top, not at the bottom, because the next bow I'm going to add right on top. To balance out a little bit of the pink that is in my iridescent fabric, I'm grabbing this Easter ribbon from the Dollar Tree, and without leaving a tail, I'm going to make 3 10-inch loops in order to make the bow. I find my middle, and then I'm going to notch it on both sides in the middle, just cutting through the wire. Leaving 2 inches on the end, I'm bringing it together with the chenille wire. After I was done with the bow, I thought something was missing. So I went back and made one more Deco mesh bow, and I attached it to the back and opposite side of the other one, so it makes a big beautiful flower out of the Deco mesh. Now let's get started on the bow. I'm going to be using this 12-inch ruler, and this is going to be very easy, I promise. So here's what I'm going to do. 6 inches is our middle, because we're going to go 6 inches this way, 6 inches this way. Here is what you do, you guys. Put the ruler right on top of the ribbon right here. But since 6 inches is our start, I'm going to move it to 8 because I want this overlapped, and I like those 2 inches to make sure that the ribbon is nice and secure. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold it right here in the corner. And remember, we were starting off with the 8 just to kind of give us the 2 inches that we want as an extra. And we are just going to start going around the ruler. How simple is that? We're going to go around the ruler. And there's other 12-inch rulers you can also use, not a big deal. And then make how many loops you want. I feel like the leaves right here, they're not that big, so we don't want too many loops either. So what I want is 3 on each side. When I see 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and then 1, 2, 3, and then 1, 2, and here is our third. Now our third, we're going to go down to 4. This last one right here, just to give it 2 inches on the other side of 6, right there. And I'm going to cut it off with the largest scissors I can find, seriously, right there at 4. I don't know if I should laugh or cry at this point. All right, and I took it off the ruler, and as you can see, it's nice and even, and we're just going to fold it in half just to make sure we have that center. Unfold it, and then we're going to make little cuts, tiny cuts, you guys, tiny, 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 tiny. Just go through like this portion right here where the wire is. That's it. All you want is this to be kind of looser. It's just what happens is if you don't do these little nicks on this particular bow, what happens is all of this wire gets crunched in there and the bow just doesn't pop like it should, I guess. Grabbing some wire, and I'm grabbing a longer piece because I do want this wire to go around where it needs to go, right on the wreath. And I'm just going to go around, and of course, where the last piece where we cut it off, that's going to be our back, and then the beginning is hidden inside. And we're just going to scrunch it, no particular way, and tie it. I'm going to go around one more time. Now I'm just going to feed my wire through the top and the bottom right here. I'm going to twist it around, making sure to go around this center bar. And of course, now we come to the fun part, and that is opening up our bow. And what I like to do is kind of twist it